scale of what's coming is hard to overstate. All of this has set up a showdown in Canada.
It's, I think a bit of an avatar in many ways for Canadians' distrust of AI broadly. This is sort of where the rubber hits the road. This infrastructure is a very specific and identifiable locus for some of those concerns and anxieties.
Myron Lowen, Associate Program Director at Urban Climate Leadership, is a policy researcher tracking regulatory gaps in the sector.
It's a bit of a wild west. The scope and scale and the power that is used by some of the largest data center facilities is really unlike anything we've seen before. The speed with which the industry is moving is quite different than the speed with which local governments tend to move. The federal government has not demonstrated an interest in creating any incentives or regulations to date that would place any constraints on the data center industry in Canada. In fact, they've removed some constraints specifically in Alberta as a part of the MOU with the province of Alberta that exempts the data center industry from some other regulations that are applied to other industries with respect to energy consumption.
These data centers present an opportunity for major profits, with developers in the US making hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on each hyperscale project, and without any regulation to slow things down. And that's especially true for Alberta, where over 90% of the new projects are planned.
So what we find is that they are locating where land is cheap. There is either grid access or, in Alberta's case, policy and regulations that would allow them to generate their own energy on site. And access to water is also a really important factor as well. So these are different than kind of the data centers that we would have seen beginning in like the 2000s, which are kind of in our urban centers, very small. You wouldn't even know that they were there.
But now, even some major cities want hyperscalers too. Take Hamilton, where City Councillor Nrinder Nan voices her concerns.
In Hamilton, we also have legacy impact from industry that's been given permissions to overpollute our air. Neighbors in my community have a 20-year less life expectancy rate than neighbors in other postal codes across my city.
So someone who lives in that part of Hamilton where they really want to put the data center, going to live 20 years less on average than someone who lives in a wealthier, more suburban area. Yeah, it's nuts, right? I think the reasoning was almost like, well, that land's already kind of, let's just put it there. That seems to be the mindset. But from the perspective of the people who live in Hamilton, they don't want it because it's going to objectively decrease their quality of life in several key ways. We know what those ways are. Noise, water pollution, increased electricity costs, cost of living, brownouts, air pollution.